going on, Vikings fans? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and we got some great news to discuss today. As Terron Armstead, former offensive lineman in the NFL, he was at a joint practice between the Bears and the Dolphins, and he was talking about Caleb Williams and his struggles, and it could be a huge advantage for the Vikings week 1 against the Chicago Bears. Then we also got more great news. Jalen Nailor, there's a chance he'll be out there for that Monday Night Football game. And also the Vikings have been linked to another wide receiver. So we'll dive into all that on today's show. But speaking about week 1 against the Chicago Bears, if you guys want the Vikes to beat the Bears, start the season 1-0, just give me a skull down below in the comments section. Adam Thielen will be in that game. It's going to be all-time vibes. So if you guys want the Vikes to start 1-0 and beat the Chicago Bears, just give me a skull down below. All right, so let's talk about Caleb Williams here and a little brief preview of the Week 1 matchup between Caleb Williams and this Brian Flores defense. But Terron Armstead, former Dolphins offensive tackle, was at the Dolphins-Bears joint practice, and he said this on Caleb Williams. Caleb's process playing that quarterback position has to improve, and pretty fast, in my opinion. On a consistent basis, Caleb was not able to recognize where he was in danger. He wasn't feeling pressure. He wasn't feeling blitzes. He wasn't seeing blitzes pre-snap. And hearing that, he wasn't seeing blitzes pre-snap, Brian Flores, have yourself a day. Like, that is the best thing I can hear as a Vikings fan heading into that week 1 matchup is that Caleb is still having issues, detecting blitzes pre-snap when you're going against Brian Flores. We know his MO. He'll line 7, 8 guys up on the line of scrimmage. And at the quarterback position, you just got to decipher who's coming. So if he is still struggling with that, and he's also still learning a very complex offense from Ben Johnson, that's a huge advantage for the Vikings week 1. And we saw last year, Caleb Williams really struggled to stay off the ground. And, obviously this has, somewhat to do with the offensive line, but I think most people, and especially Bears fans, just chalk up the 68 sacks, be like, hey, it was all on the offensive line. Now we have a new improved offensive line. This won't be an issue. We even saw this in the preseason this year against the Kansas City Chiefs. He is still running into sacks. He just doesn't really have too good of a feel in the pocket, in my opinion. At least when you watch him last year, he really never felt comfortable. Now, yes, that could change with Ben Johnson, but I also think it could take some time. Now, I will give Caleb credit against Brian Flores. His Week 12 performance was probably his best one and probably his best game during his rookie campaign. And, he had 340 yards that game, 2 touchdowns. He was only sacked 3 times, but I will say in that overtime first drive for the Chicago Bears, Jonathan Gennard, he was getting double-teamed, and Caleb was just dancing around the pocket, and he had about 8 seconds to throw the football, and he took a brutal sack. And also those numbers, some of it came in, a late comeback effort, so I don't want to call it garbage time since they did force overtime, but also if they didn't get the onside kick, it would have been complete garbage time. But we also saw in Week 15, Monday Night Football, Caleb really struggled. He was inaccurate. He, wasn't having any sort of feel in the pocket, only went for 191 yards, and my take on the Ben Johnson-Caleb Williams relationship, I actually do think it will work out eventually. Like, Ben Johnson is too talented at calling plays, and I do believe Caleb Williams is too talented at the quarterback position. But also, I think it's going to take some time because in those Ben Johnson, Kevin O'Connell, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan offenses, they want a more statuesque quarterback who is going to, for sure, get the ball out on time and on target. When Caleb Williams, and this is no slight to him, this is just how he plays the game of football, he's more of that backyard football feel. Can I escape the pocket? Can I make something happen? And he isn't the best quarterback, following his script, at least at this point in his NFL career. Now, I will say, Brian Flores versus Ben Johnson, the last 2 seasons combined, Brian Flores' defense has only allowed 30 points in just 7 games. Ben Johnson is responsible for 4 of them. So every time the Vikings have played the Lions the last 2 seasons, Ben Johnson has gotten the better of Flores. But also, I doubt Ben Johnson's going to be able to do the same week 1. Because of the run game the Lions had the last 2 seasons. You had a top 3 offensive line undisputed. I think you had the best running back room in the league with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. So can he still have that success without running the football? Because we know if you do want to get the best of Brian Flores and this defense, you're going to have to dominate on the ground. Because if you get in the 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 situations over and over again, there is no answer to that problem of the Brian Flores defense. But if you can stay ahead of the sticks, which the Lions have done, I don't know. I just have my doubts that Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson will be able to do that week 1 against the Chicago Bears. So I think this is great, or against the Minnesota Vikings. So I think this is great news for us. But hey, speaking about week 1, you guys predict the score for me. Vikings versus Bears. Let me know what you're thinking. I think the Vikings defense is going to be a story of this game. I might have to wait to give you guys my score prediction for a preview video dropping this Monday, but you guys get your thoughts on down below in the comment section first. Vikings Bears, predict the score for week 1. Now, coming up next on the show, Jalen Nailor got a positive injury update on his status for week 1 against the Chicago Bears. And then also, the Vikings were linked to another wide receiver. So we'll break that all down here in a sec. I got to give a massive shout out to Harry's for sponsoring today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports. And for a limited time, our listeners can get Harry's trial set for only $8 plus a free gift at harrys.com/chat. Just head over to harrys.com/chat to receive our exclusive discount. Now, each razor at Harry's has a weighted ergonomic handle that gives you total control, which means no more slipping or awkward angles. It feels premium in your hand, balanced for a smoother, steadier shave. Harry's doesn't just make razors, though. They've got a full line of grooming essentials from shave gel to deodorant to body wash, all thoughtfully made and priced to stock up. And all of Harry's blades and grooming products can be delivered right to your door. So set your preferred schedule and never run out of blades again. Now, I have tried razors in the past, and for me personally, other razors, they became way too old and way too dull, way too fast. But that's not the situation here at Harry's. I absolutely love these razors, and also in the past, some razors would irritate my neck, and they also cost way too much. Sometimes it would be $20 for a 4-pack of refills. That's a total scam, but not over at Harry's. And for a limited time, our listeners can get Harry's trial set for only $8 plus a free gift at harrys.com/chat. Just head over to harrys.com/chat to receive our exclusive discount. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you. All right, let's talk about Speedy. Jalen Nailor. He got some positive injury news as, we thought this hand injury was possibly going to keep him out for the first 3-ish weeks of the season, but he actually had a procedure done on his hand over the past week, and all reports are indicating he should be ready to go for week 1. Now, Speedy has been a polarizing player for the Vikings, to say the least, this offseason. He has had drop issues. He has had effort issues, at least in a couple of viral clips that are seen on social media. But anytime you could have Speedy out there, I think that's a positive. And, you're starting to look at this wide receiver room for week 1. It looks a lot better with Adam Thielen and Jalen Nailor in there, compared to a guy like Miles Price, Tim Jones, or Ty Felton. So, obviously we knew the wide receiver spot was a huge position of need. But after the Adam Thielen trade, and now with Speedy back, I absolutely love that for the first game against the Chicago Bears. And listen, if Nailor is healthy, the Vikings wide receiver room is more than okay for the first 3 weeks. I don't think they need to still panic and go add a KJ Osborne or a guy we'll talk about here in a second. I think they're more than okay running with Jefferson, Thielen, and Speedy. That should be more than enough. And, I was just thinking, with this Adam Thielen trade, the Vikings' support system for J.J. McCarthy might be one of the best of all time. Like, I think if any quarterback had to pick where they want to play this season in terms of just the support around them, the Vikings have to be 1 or 2 on that list. Number 1, you got Kevin O'Connell, one of the best offensive play callers in the league. You got 3 great weapons in Jefferson, Addison, and Thielen when they're all back. You got a great tight end in Hockenson. You got 2 good running backs. You got a top 5 offensive line. Like, there is no hole on this offense. So J.J. McCarthy, a lot of pressure on him this season, but I think he's going to live up to it and put up some big-time numbers this year. I think some people think he's just going to be a game manager, and I understand that thought process, but listen, this guy was a 5-star recruit. He's got a wicked arm, and I think he's going to put up some big numbers this year as well. But obviously this is what Vegas has J.J. McCarthy's passing touchdown total set at 25.5. Are you taking the over? Are you taking the under? What say you down below in the comment section? Give me an O for over or give me a U for under. All right, so Kendrick Bourne, Patriots wide receiver, was released yesterday, and apparently the Vikings were calling about him in a potential trade, saying this: the reason Bourne got what he wanted is because his understanding late last night was that he was probably going to go to Minnesota. He was also approached about taking a pay cut. Obviously, that didn't end up working out, and the Patriots ended up waiving him. So, clearly the Vikings had interest in Bourne before the Thielen trade, and now with him being a free agent, maybe they could pick him up. But Bourne over the last 4 seasons, nothing crazy to write home about here. Just a solid wide receiver. And, the thing is with Kendrick Bourne, I think it would be a great, wide receiver 4. Would you feel comfortable him being the wide receiver 3? Not necessarily. And also, I think it's a huge red flag. A team like the New England Patriots have a need at the wide receiver spot, and they let go of a guy like Kendrick Bourne. So I would really have no interest in bringing him in. And also, I doubt the Vikings make any other move at the wide receiver after the Jalen Nailor injury news. Now, if Nailor was out for the first month, yeah, I would have extreme interest in Kendrick Bourne. Just bring him in for the first 3 weeks. Doesn't go well, you can cut him. But now with Nailor back in the fold, I think the Vikings are fine at wide receiver. Now, all of our attention should shift to the cornerback position, and still no news there, but I'm anticipating the Vikings will do something before the start of the season. But in terms of wide receiver, I think we're all right, at least for right now, barring any injuries coming up. But if you guys made it to the end of today's show, we appreciate you. Just give me a skull down below in the comment section. Also, hit me up on Twitter if you haven't already. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes.